Hi, and welcome to this live reading from Tempting Fate by Bella Faust, and this is presented by Itsy Bitsy Book Bits. Prologue, Lily, aged 19. Angel, are you going to forgive Alex? The woman trots alongside the barricade that's been set up to separate us from the crazies lined up outside the courthouse. She yells her questions like a reporter, but I know she's one of them. Will you finally admit that you're lying about him, that this is a love triangle gone wrong? Fucking psychos, Sandra grumbles from behind me. Need to be put out of their misery. I squeeze Zeke's hand to remind him that he can't act on his lethal inclinations. What kind of bitch thinks a rapist needs defending? Sad bitches, that's who. Slash keeps his arm around my neck, my face pressed into his wide chest as he helps Zeke lead me inside. Sandwiched between my boyfriend and our gigantic bestie, I can barely see a thing. Like to see them survive the bullshit they're throwing. That little cherub. Their determination to shield me from this mess is futile. After a year of attacks by the media, haranguing depositions from lawyers employed by Joseph Kingsley, invasive medical tests, and 4 major surgeries, I know that this isn't the end. This is simply another interlude, a new way for Alex to taunt me. Because he refuses to exit my life. Notwithstanding his guilty plea, my tormentor has done his best to drag out the legal process. He's fought his mental health diagnosis, broken his bail conditions by sending me letters, leveraged the blackmail photos of Sander by anonymously releasing them on social media 2 days before training began, ordered his group of female devotees to hound me, sat down for print interviews and given magazine exclusives about the truth of our relationship, and a convoluted explanation about how his guilty plea doesn't actually mean he did what he's been accused of. About the only thing Alex hasn't stooped to is setting the Madison clan onto the Shamrocks. Thank God for small mercies, I guess. Since my final surgery 4 months ago and my permanent discharge from hospital, Zeke, Slash, and Toker have tried their hardest to keep me in the dark about it all. To no avail, not in this hyper-connected day and age. Even so, I appreciate their efforts. Which is why I don't have the heart to tell them that I'm aware of the tricks Alex is likely to employ when we're face-to-face again shortly. This court appearance might ostensibly be for his sentencing. However, I'm cognizant that it's another opportunity for him to use the microphone the legal system has thrust in his face to beat me down emotionally. His gang of female supporters have hardly been subtle about their plans for today. Before I deactivated my social media accounts 7 months ago, comments like the ones thrown at me by the women sprinting alongside the barrier were a daily occurrence. As a girl raised to believe in the sisterhood, discovering that some women will sell out their sisters for a man's attention has been a hard lesson. If it wasn't for Nadia's complete loyalty and the support of the Shamrocks old ladies, my faith in women would be gone. Because Alex's female supporters are vicious. They call themselves the Chosen Cherubim. There's more than 10 in the main group, along with 20 or so other members who float around on the periphery. Most of them have grown their hair long like mine and dyed their hair blonde or purchased wigs to get the same effect. They pile their hair into high, messy buns, stick blue contacts in their eyes, dress in tight, low-cut tops, and body-hugging jeans, and pose with Harley-Davidsons they couldn't even start, let alone ride. It's their Jezebel ensemble. Apparently, their clothes and behavior are supposed to shame me into freeing their leader. As part of their public shaming, they filmed themselves reading Alex's letters to me, all the while displaying a property of the king patch on the vests they wear. With disturbing regularity, they post the videos online and in the social media groups they run. Sometimes they even take out full page adverts in the paper to set the record straight. One of them runs the Angel Watch blog that reports my movements. A few of them regularly meet with Alex at the mansion where he's supposed to be on tightly regulated home detention. Every interaction is filmed, edited to make Alex look like the victim of my maliciousness, and distributed to as many public sources as possible. It's a circus. One I can't seem to avoid, especially when they hide out on my university campus and ambush me as I leave class. None of the dozen restraining orders I've been granted have been upheld, not a surprise, since Joseph Kingsley runs the police. My legal team, led by the Shamrocks legal eagle, Gabriel Abaddon, it tries to keep me out of their sight, but these women are relentless. And so is Australia's media. Too many so-called journalists, those self-purported professionals whose job it is to spread the truth, have shown their arses to count. They've brought into the whorish daughter of notorious biker uses the hashtag #MeToo movement to take down the upstanding son of anti-corruption politician narrative being pushed by Alex's team. And when that hasn't been enough fodder to keep the clickbait hounds raging, they've added new rumors to the mix. Day after day, they managed to stoop a little lower, rehashing Slash's case, spreading lies about Sander, accusing Zeke of being the man responsible for my assault. One of the Sunday night current affairs shows even aired a special where Alex was interviewed about his version of events. The program, for which Alex was paid to sit down one-on-one with a preeminent interviewer who once worked as a lobbyist for Joseph, confected the story of a man on the cusp of being wrongly incarcerated by the lies of a young woman who'd been brainwashed by purity culture and her need to remain virtuous for her biker betrothed. In fact, Alex alleged that it was Zeke who beat and raped me as reprisal for my unsanctioned love affair with an upstanding politician's son, and that the Shamrocks had covered up their violent member's crime by forcing me into pointing the finger at Alex. Apparently, it was a win-win for the club. They stopped their club from fracturing and destroyed Joseph Kingsley, the anti-corruption candidate, before the upcoming election, where the rumor was that he planned to run for premier. If Alex's story was a movie script, it would be thrown out of the writer's room for being too contrived. Unfortunately, the citizens of Western Australia are lapping up the charade and turning in for more, in between baying for my blood and ringing into talkback radio to demand the police shut down all motorcycle clubs. Hence the reason why the men escorting me into the courtroom today aren't wearing their cuts. The Black Shamrocks MC are public enemy number 2. I'm number 1, of course. We're hunted by the media and looked down on by the same communities we've supported since the end of the Vietnam War, with toy runs at Christmas for the kids who'd otherwise miss out on a present under their tree, and poker runs to fundraise money for those in need. Even more of a problem is the attitude other clubs and criminal organizations have toward us. The Cerulli Familia have threatened to ally with the Madison Plan against us. The 10,000 Suns triad are moving product through our ports without fear. The bishops of bloodshed are pushing into our turf, using the public and political scrutiny we're under as a shield from any reprisal we would once have rained down on them. The New Trinity, or La Trinitat Nova, as they are better known, have called a sit-down to discuss our ongoing membership in their guild. As the first and final word on literally everything political, financial, social, and spiritual, possessing the Trinity's approval is both protection and validation. Without it, we are no better than the Madisons. To say that the Shamrocks are on the cusp of war would be an understatement. We're heading toward total annihilation of our 50 years of tradition and brotherhood, with a madman at the helm and 3 of the biggest criminal organizations in Australia breathing down our neck. My father used the club's distraction over my assault to pull off the coup. He usurped Haiti's role as president, using his terminal cancer diagnosis as an excuse, stealing Zeke's legacy in one fell swoop. After pleading for change and vowing to mentor Zeke so he could take his rightful place once he's older and wiser, Dad and his slightly majority have made it clear that they are willing to take the Shamrocks in the exact opposite direction our founding 6 set out in the original Constitution. The Shamrocks are splintering, and I can't help but blame myself for it. If only I'd stayed away from Alex. Mr. Kingsley, will you stand up, please? The justice orders in a sullen tone after she bangs her gavel twice. I blink fast, my eyes stinging as I realize that I've gotten lost in my head once again. Somehow Zeke and Slash have managed to help me unconsciously navigate the media at the front of the courthouse, the crazies, the metal detectors, and backcheck, and take a seat on what I've come to think of as my side of the courtroom. Although I know my absent-mindedness is becoming dangerous, my brain remains incapable of doing anything productive other than worry about all the problems my bad decisions have caused. At that thought, a shiver of foreboding runs the length of my spine. My stomach flip-flops. What if Alex walks away scot-free? God, I hope not. Sandwiched between Zeke and Slash, I rub my palms along my thighs, then I cross my fingers and slide my hands under my legs to hide my superstitious behavior from Zeke. Should have put a bullet in his head, Sandra grumbles from behind me. Motherfucker shouldn't be breathing the same air as you, let alone looking your way. Hush, Nadia warns him. Shoot her a grateful look over my shoulder, and she offers me a tight grimace. We don't need the bailiff to drag you out again. You made the 6 o'clock news last time. Slash chuckles under his breath, and he shows me his fingers. They're crossed like mine. Hoping for an early birthday present, he murmurs. Thoughts of my recent 19th birthday, the first anniversary of Alex's attack, try to push to the forefront of my mind. I refuse them access. The scars on my thighs and lower belly are enough of a reminder without allowing my traitorous brain to remind me how weak I am. When Alexander pushes to his feet with an easy grace he has no right to possess, I blindly seek out Zeke's touch. He links our fingers and pulls our intertwined hands into his lap. Resting heavily against my boyfriend, I try my hardest to keep my breath steady and my body from shaking as the justice skims over the document in front of her. We can go outside if you want, Slash whispers, careful not to startle me as he reaches for my other hand. He slants an expression filled with empathy my way. You don't need to be here for this. I do. After dragging my gaze from the back of Alex's head, I offer my worried friend a loaded look. Won't be able to sleep, eat, drink, breathe unless I hear the outcome with my own ears and see it with my own eyes. With a sharp nod, Slash concedes my point. He turns slightly to use his chin to direct my attention to Sander. I angle my head. My mouth runs dry when I find my twin dashing at his eyes with the back of his hand. Nadia loops her arm around his neck and pulls his face to her shoulder. Next to her, Slash's mom, Crystal, sits ramrod straight. She holds up her justice should be blind sign and glares at any of Alex's supporters whenever they make the mistake of meeting her eyes. I offer her a watery smile when Crystal slips Sander a tissue and orders, shoulder square, chin up. To his credit, Sander does exactly as he's told. When he glances my way, I pretend I can't see his red-rimmed eyes. With a squeeze of my fingers, Zeke steals my attention from my twin. He looks around the courtroom at anyone but the man my father refuses to grant him the permission to kill, and I follow his focus. The long benches on the prosecution side are filled with my supporters. On the other side of Sander, my 3 younger brothers fill out the row. Behind them, the old ladies of the Black Shamrocks MC offer their silent but solid support. Row after row, from my spot at the front to the double doors all the way at the back, is occupied by big men in dirty denim and long-sleeved t-shirts, stripped of their shamrocks cut in colors. From prospects to lifers who've been in the club longer than I've been alive, from the Perth chapter to those from the East Coast, the Shamrocks have turned out to support me. Each man has had his life turned on its head by my bad choices, yet they're all sitting with me, encouraging me, protecting me, unlike my father and Charlie. As soon as thoughts of Dad push their way into my head, I shove them back out. I don't have the bandwidth to process his betrayal, not that any level of comprehension will help me understand his reasons for secretly sanctioning a union between me and the heir to the Madison clan. It doesn't make sense. It's never been part of the biker life. Arranged marriages are more the bailiwick of the mafia and the Trinity. Even then, the women involved are aware they're being used to create a blood bond. Not that it makes any difference. It's over now. Dad might have won some battles, but he lost that fight. I'm free to choose my own partner, and I've made it clear that I choose Zeke. I've been in love with him since I was 13, and despite some bumps in our road togetherness, he loves me in return. Dirty as I am, broken as I am, Zeke has made it clear that I'm it for him. As my mind tries to bombard me with memories of Alex's attack on my 18th birthday, I force myself to focus elsewhere. I take in the stark contrast between the rough men on my side and the well-dressed politicians, businessmen, weeping socialites, and other supporters sitting behind Alex. The difference in our social standing has been well documented by the converging press. The sides of this trial are delineated with or without the presence of the Shamrocks patch. When the man accused of violent rape and grievous bodily harm is the only son of the minister for police and his victim is the daughter of an MC president, unfavorable comparisons are expected. I'm the dirty biker whore who took down the crown prince of Western Australia. Alex is the unfortunate dupe caught in my lewd net. God forbid the truth gets in the way of a clever soundbite. Face forward, Mr. Kingsley, Justice Thompson demands. I'd hate to hold you in contempt at such a late stage. My head snaps to the front of the courtroom. I lock eyes with Alex, who just turned around to look at me. My heart stops. My lungs empty. I'm frozen in place as he awkwardly blows me a kiss using his handcuffed hands, then winks. Next to me, Zeke growls and makes the stand. I shake myself free of the weird thrall Alex creates and stay my man with a strong squeeze of his closest thigh. Gonna kill him if he looks at you again. No, you're not, I tell Zeke, even though I'd love nothing more than Alex to die. That'll only make things worse. It'd make me feel a lot better. While the justice clears her throat and scowls at Alex as he slowly resumes facing her, I lean into Zeke and whisper, I won't lose you, not to him, not to whatever revenge his father decides to cook up to pay us back for damaging his family's reputation and destroying his chance of becoming the state's premier, and definitely not to my father's games. There's a reason why Dad won't sanction Alex's death, so until we know what it is, you'll use your brains and respect my call for restraint. The muscle in Zeke's jaw works as he stops himself from saying what he really thinks to settle for placating me. I'll / makes a rumbling sound that vibrates his chest, and Toker matches it with one of his own from the other side of Zeke. We'll respect it, sweet thing, doesn't mean we agree with it. I wouldn't expect anything less. For the rape of Miss Lilianna Mayberry, as the justice continues speaking, we all face forward. The offender is sentenced to imprisonment for a term of 5 years and 7 months. The non-parole period is one of 2 years and 4 months and will include time served as of this date. Holy fuck, Sander exclaims as Alex's side recoils in shock at the sentence. He's actually going to prison, not a psych ward? Keep calm, Crystal chides. She lays a hand on my shoulder and everyone sitting around me pretends to ignore the way I startle at her light touch. I swallow hard, biting my tongue so I don't scream at her to get away from me while my skin crawls beneath the pressure of her fingers. The second charge is the big one. Not sure how beating someone half to death is worse than raping them half to death, Nadia mutters. Fucking men and their bullshit laws. Crystal grumbles something under her breath that sounds like agreement. For the aggravated, grievous bodily harm of Lilianna Mayberry, the offender is sentenced to imprisonment for a term of 8 years and 1 month. Due to the mitigating factors presented by the defense, I have used the guidelines provided to offer a special dispensation for good behavior and the completion of an appropriate mental health program whilst determining the non-parole period. In due course, the non-parole period for this sentence is no less than 4 years and 11 months. This will be served concurrently with the previous sentence. However, time already served will not count. Less than 5 years, I murmur under my breath. 5 years until he comes back for me. He won't get within spitting distance of you ever again, Zeke promises. I want to agree with him, but I can't. Alex is a monster, evil personified, and everyone knows that evil monsters don't just fade into the darkness in the face of defeat. Monsters aren't quitters. They don't have the capacity to accept defeat. Instead, they bide their time, lick their wounds while they plot and plan, grow more devious by their day, until they invade the light and drag their obsession back into hell with them. My monster will come back for me. When he returns, I need to be strong enough to defeat him.